Rest you. Who likes the Ten Commandments, by the way, going up in the schools?
I don't know if you guys heard about this. The Ten Commandments have been ordered by law to be put up in every Louisiana school. There's a lot of legal framework behind all of this I want to talk about. So Trump decided to address the issue.
They think it's such a bad thing. I said, has anyone read the thou shalt not steal,
Has anyone read thou shalt not commit adultery? Specifically this guy, Agent Orange over here. Has he read that part? Has he ever read any of the commandments?
Has anybody read this incredible stuff? It's just incredible. They don't want it to go up. It's a crazy world, a crazy world.
Absolutely insane. Now, if you want to put 10 commandments up in your house or on your lawn or whatever, go nuts. I have no issue with that. You want to have them displayed prominently, get 10-foot high granite things and have it chiseled into them, the 10 commandments, and put it right out front. Go ahead. I don't care. What I care about is childhood indoctrination. That is what's happening, really. That's my complaint. And actually, the core complaint that I have is that this law that Louisiana passed to force a picture of the 10 Commandments to be put up in every single classroom, it is a challenge to the legal framework that maintains the separation between church and state. If somebody comes along and challenges a law that law is built upon and erases it, then every single state can put up 10 commandments and they can start putting up all kinds of other stuff. They can work religious stuff into every part of government. It's not just the 10 commandments anymore. We're going to talk about the legal ramifications in a second, but just check this out. This is Lauren Boebert, who has decided to address the issue too.
I don't think that it's bad to have something that says honor your father and mother so that you will live a long life. That is the first commandment that has a promise attached to it.
I don't even know why they're putting up 10 commandments. They're Christians, right? Not Jews. Why didn't they put up the Sermon on the Mount? Why do they care about the 10 commandments at all? The first commandment contradicts the first amendment. You can't have both. First commandment is, you shall have no other gods before me. And the first amendment is, you have freedom of religion. You can believe anything you want and you can say anything you want. I think 4 of the commandments are specifically about God, right? Been a while since I looked at the 10 commandments, or the other 603 for that matter. You know why it's been a while? Because I'm not Jewish and it doesn't apply to me. I mean, I'm not Christian either, but it shouldn't apply to me even then. You shall have no other gods before me. Contradicts the First Amendment. You shall not make idols. That probably contradicts First Amendment too, right? Freedom of religion, freedom to do whatever you want. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Once again, First Amendment, the very first one they put in, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Doesn't apply to Christians. Why is that even in there? Honor your father and your mother. This is a rule of the universe that's existed since humans have been on Earth, okay? Everybody wants the kid to honor their parent. That's not useful to anybody. You shall not murder. Again, something everybody knows. Cultures had this rule long before Judaism came along, or completely without Jewish influence. This has always existed. Murder is wrong. You shall not commit adultery. You really want to legislate that? You want to force people to not commit adultery? Again, is this the party of small government that's doing this? It doesn't seem like it. Small government and parents' rights. It seems like those are just things that they like to use, that they like to parade around and pretend they believe in to get them further in the political system rather than actually believing them. And finally, you shall not steal. Again, something that everybody knows. Nobody needs to be told that. So here are the values in the 10 Commandments that I don't think should be on a classroom wall because we live in a secular government, if for no other reason than that. You shall not have any other gods before me. Shouldn't be there. You shall not make idols. I can do whatever the fuck I want. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Again, I can do anything I want. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Doesn't apply to Christians. Honor your father and your mother. I suppose that one can go up. Sure. You shall not murder. Everyone already knows it, but sure, I guess, if you want. You shall not commit adultery. I can do whatever I want. This has nothing to do with you. Doesn't affect your life at all. Doesn't affect anybody else's life except for people in my personal life. That's it. I mean, I'm not going to commit adultery, and I think adultery is wrong, but you shouldn't go to jail for adultery. And finally, you shall not steal. Okay, that one can go up too. So the only three that I'm okay with: honor your father and your mother, you shall not murder, and you shall not steal. Why didn't you write those three on a piece of paper and stick it on a classroom wall? I've got Kootmaster in the chat. He's Jewish. Says, funny, they aren't Jewish and don't follow Shabbat, Saturday rest. Oh yeah, it's Saturday. I keep thinking it's Sunday for some reason. Yeah, I don't understand. How are they coming to these wild conclusions? And this is just erasing the barrier between church and state.
That is the first commandment that has a promise attached to it. I don't think that it's bad to teach children that adultery is something that you should not do. And also...
Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I'd appreciate it if you watched to the end of the video, or at least a couple extra seconds, because YouTube bases its algorithm off of watch time. The more watch time a video has, the further the video will go. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. The 100 questions are intended to challenge a religious leader, so I'd appreciate it if you give it a read. Okay, back to the video. I can do whatever I want. This coming from Lauren Boebert, right? Adultery is not something you should do. Didn't she, just get divorced and get caught doing stuff in a movie theater with somebody, I think? I didn't see the video, so I don't know. I believe that's what happened, right? I mean, I don't know if that's adultery or not. I guess that's technically not if she was divorced first. But I wonder why they got divorced.
Children, that adultery is something that you should not do. And also listed in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal. And maybe the...
Not for nothing, but I think her son is on trial right now for felonies related to theft, like 30 felonies or something. I don't usually bring this up, her son, and I don't intend to talk about it at length or anything, because this kid is not asking to be in the limelight. He doesn't want any part of this, apparently. He hasn't spoken to the press or anything, and he's very clearly having a hard time in his life. I've had a hard time in my life too. Okay, I've been there, where I'm going through a rough patch and I don't know how to pull myself out of it. So I don't even know the kid's name, and I don't want to. I just want to point out that she doesn't respect any of these, and she didn't raise her kids to respect any of these either, apparently. The 18-year-old son of U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert was arrested by Rifle Police. That's the name of the town. What a wild name for a town. Arrested by Rifle Police officers Tuesday in connection with a recent string of vehicle trespass and property thefts in the town. While officials have yet to release details, Colorado Bureau of Investigation records indicate Boebert was breaking into vehicles to steal credit cards and other identification documents, such as driver's licenses and passports. Again, I don't even want to go into the kid's name because it's completely irrelevant to the story. He's not asking for this. I'm not going to do it. But Lauren Boebert has never cared about this. This is about indoctrination. It's always been about cramming Christianity, or let me rephrase, cramming these people's specific version and interpretation of their religion down everybody's throats. If you're a Christian, you shouldn't identify with anything that this woman has to say. You think you're safe when she gains more power in the United States, or when Trump institutes some of the plans that are laid out, like Project 2025? Christians are not safe either. If you aren't their denomination of Christianity, you don't belong here, and it's going to get real ugly. Everybody should be against this. The 10 Commandments bill isn't just, oh, we want the 10 Commandments up in Louisiana. It's not about that. This is about erasing a key component to the separation of church and state. Now that Louisiana has put up these bills, there's going to be a lawsuit. This is part of public interest law. You have to pick your battles wisely, right? So it's very clearly unconstitutional and illegal to put up 10 Commandments statues or whatever in every single classroom. That's been established by case law going all the way back to like 1803 or even earlier, like when under Thomas Jefferson's presidency or whatever. If there's a lawsuit that goes against Louisiana and is brought to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decides it's okay, yes, they can put it up, they are erasing the entire infrastructure that protects people from the church overtaking the government. So it's a calculated risk. The ACLU's decided they are going to move forward with the lawsuit against Louisiana to prevent this from taking effect, or it's already taken effect, so prevent or take it down, I guess, remove the bill. They've decided they're going to do that, but this is a real risk that the ACLU is taking. Do we just let Louisiana get away with this and just like turn around and just keep doing what we're doing? Or do we challenge it, bring it to the Supreme Court, and risk the possibility that the infrastructure will be removed out from under us, and every state is going to put 10 commandments in their classrooms? As a matter of fact, they're not just going to put 10 commandments in their classrooms. Now that this infrastructure has been taken out, they can mandate prayer in schools. They can abolish schools in favor of churches, basically. Turn them into 8-hour-long church camps, effectively. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You're going to church. That's public school. This risk is one that the Louisiana legislature knew that people are going to have to take. It doesn't hurt Republicans at all. They don't lose anything. If they lose this court battle, well, okay, things are exactly as they were before. If they win the court battle, everything falls apart. All of the legal infrastructure protecting us falls apart. That's why this is happening. I would like to think that the Supreme Court justices aren't so indoctrinated and wrapped up in their own heads that they would see how this would destroy our legal infrastructure. But I don't think so. I don't think that they're going to come to that realization. Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I just want to say I'd appreciate it if you check my Patreon. owenmorgan.com/Patreon to find it. YouTube's algorithm goes up and down, so I can never predict where it's going to be. Having patrons gives me some level of stability. Okay, back to the video. The evangelical right has been working toward this scenario for a long time. They've been sitting and waiting. Leo Leonard, famous, I think he's a billionaire, and the leader of like think tanks and super PACs and all this stuff, he handpicked the Supreme Court justices, like a bunch of them that are on there today. Maybe all of them? I'm not sure. All the conservative Supreme Court justices were picked by one guy, Leo Leonard. He gave the names to the people in the White House, and the White House just said, okay, we'll push them through. Amy Coney Barrett. Do you think Trump really has any knowledge about the federal judiciary? Like anybody, you think that Trump's sitting there studying case law and watching these judges adjudicate, seeing how informed they are? No, he was given a name by Leo Leonard and he put them in. Simple as that. The evangelical voting bloc makes up about 15% of the United States. 15%. And they hold a disproportionate amount of power because they haven't leapt yet. They haven't jumped the gun. They've just been sitting and waiting this whole time until they were in a good position to do some psychotic shit. And now, all across the United States, you see 10 Commandments bills being proposed. In Oklahoma, what's his name? Ryan Walters, the superintendent, Ryan Walters, just created the first publicly funded, taxpayer-funded religious school, like religious private school. Now, taxpayers are paying for kids to go to church every day, basically, and get indoctrinated. And I haven't even touched the chaplain bills yet. Now, before I go into it, I just want you guys to know, like, I don't want you to be freaked out about this, all right? This is really easy to get, like, wrapped up in this. I do think that we're going to win here. And even if we don't win, in my opinion, Project 2025, which outlines the plan for all this insane stuff that they intend to do, I don't believe that Project 2025 will be implemented. I think we're going to get some of it or parts of it. You know, the Overton window is a window of acceptable public discourse in society. Communism is not an acceptable part of public discourse in the United States today. There are no communist legislators. There are no communist politicians that operate in the U.S. There are probably a few communists around, but it's extremely uncommon. The more insane people go, the further right that these people go, the further right they pull the Overton window. Project 2025 is an absolutely insane write-up of insane stuff that these people want. And they're trying to pull it over to the right. So they'll probably get some of it. They'll get half measures because politics is all about compromise. They're not going to get all of it. And what's more, just think about where we are today compared to where we were 50 years ago. Not that long ago, we were drinking from whites-only and blacks-only water fountains. Not that long ago, we were living in a segregated society. Not so long ago, it was against the law for a man to own more than 3 pieces of women's clothing. I don't think that's a law anymore. At least it's not enforced. Not so long ago, there are sodomy laws. There are trigger laws. So the point here is we are way further ahead. We are in a way better position today than we were 50 years ago. It's hard to see the good things that happen when all of this bad stuff is pelting you day in and day out. So I don't want you to get down about this. I mean, here, let me give you a piece of good news. Louis Gohmert has been kicked out of Congress. He was one of the most destructive congressmen in the United States, in U.S. Congress. You think Marjorie Taylor Greene's insane? Louis Gohmert was maybe worse than her, just not as vocal. And he's been in Congress for like decades. And he was kicked out. We can do this. The moral arc of the universe bends toward justice because we bend it that way. So don't get down. Put one foot in front of the next and keep going. Now, having said all of that, I want to talk about the chaplain bills. Because once again, evangelicals are trying to push this religious garbage, and we need to be aware of this. We need to understand how this works so that we can counter this kind of thing. This one's from mid-June 2024, I believe. Just add a little context before going in. The right is passing tons of bills right now that allow chaplains into schools to replace school counselors. So they're getting pastors in to counsel kids instead. I think we should create situations where there are fewer kids around pastors. That seems to work out the best, but that's just me. Anyway, legally, it says chaplains, and that means that any religious figure, any religious leader, like the Satanic Temple or Jains or Sikhs or Muslims or Hindu, any religious figure should be able to come in and act as a chaplain. That's how our legal system works. It's supposed to act as a deterrent from one side getting too powerful and pushing their own agenda. Everything applies to everybody fairly, and you can't legislate specifically Christian things. You can't say you have to put up the Sermon on the Mount or you have to say a prayer to Yahweh every morning in schools. You can't say that. You can say, at best, you have to say a prayer to God every morning or the Creator or something. It can't be that specific. Then you get Satanists coming in and saying their prayers to people, to Satan or whoever. That's supposed to be the deterrent to prevent this kind of thing from happening. And these people address that. They're passing bills that allow pastors into schools. They're about to talk about it.
But the left side will make innuendos. Well, now we're going to have Satan as his chaplains first. Satanic is not a church, is not a religion.
Yes, it is. Legally, it is a religion. It's even like atheism is actually viewed as a religion too for legal purposes because it's a religious category. So yeah, Satanists are a recognized legal church.
Not a church, is not a religion. It's anti-God. So you just say, okay, and move on to the next one. Because I don't know any of you that would hire a Satanist, so you just look at their background and don't hire them.
So their solution to this is discrimination. Discriminate against people based on religion. They're instructing people to throw out any anti-discrimination law, just completely ignore them. That, I guess in their mind, in an ideal world, we would repeal the anti-discrimination parts of the Constitution, right?
I mean, I don't know people in their engineering firm or teachers or baseball coaches that have an outright Satanist and say, oh, yeah, well, we'll hire. So it's not an argument. It's a narrative.
The only other comment, one of the oppositions, well, anybody can be a chaplain then. I mean, a Muslim can come in and be a chaplain.
Yeah, that's the whole bit.
And we just said, no, it has to be a certified chaplain. So that's how we kind of got around that.
Yeah, thank you.
It has to be a certified chaplain, which means the chaplain has to come to the state for certification, and the state will decide if this person can be certified. And the state's just not going to certify Muslims, or they're just not going to certify Satanists or whoever. Has to be a Christian pastor. Or even worse, they're going to pass bills, which I keep saying they're going to. Legislators across the country on a state level are currently passing bills right now. In fact, I have a chart of this. My wife's in law school, and she's been this is one of her projects that she's been working on, tracking chaplains in schools bills. And I created a chart of all of the states that are doing it right now. This is the list currently. Texas, Ohio, Florida, Nebraska, Alabama, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Maryland, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Iowa, where chaplains can replace school counselors. I think 10 or 11 of them have no education requirements. I think only one of them requires an education, and it requires a master's degree in divinity or theology or religious studies or related field, 2 years of counseling experience. That's a requirement. State certification not required. I'm only saying this for the audio audience. The video one can see the chart here, but somewhere around 9 of them out of 13 don't require a certification. And then 3 or 4 of them do require a certification. It's simple to submit a new bill that says certification can go through this company instead of the state, which they did. Some of the bills said you have to be certified through this specific company, a private entity. No eligibility requirements is 4 of them, I think. Sex offenders are ineligible, and only sex offenders. That's 8 of them. And I think one of them has other eligibility requirements. Parental consent not required, 83%. Parental consent is required, 17%. So they're putting pastors in place of school counselors, and the pastor can talk to your kid about Jesus without parental consent. Now, what was all of this about parents' rights that they've been talking about nonstop? Anyway, the certification, quote unquote, I think it's a form that you fill out online, basically. You just go through this little thing to verify that you understand what you're doing and that you know how to blah, 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 whatever. And that's it. It's all it takes. Some of them require 40 hours of training. Some of them require absolutely nothing. So the point is, these people on screen here are trying to set up a scenario in which they can dictate who can be a pastor in a church, and it's only going to be Christian pastors.
Be a chaplain. And we just said, no, it has to be a certified chaplain. So that's how we kind of got around that.
Yeah, thank you, Florida, for saying yes to it. And it was the NACL that really helped move it forward. And Ron DeSantis, upon signing it, says Satanists don't even apply. That's what he said to the media.
Is that not religious discrimination? If you heard a second ago, he said the NACL. The NACL is the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. And it's an organization that was started by a guy named Jason Rapert. Wild last name, by the way. I said this before, I'm going to say it again. But you know how, some people have last names that represent their occupation? It's kind of like an old custom to take Mason, for example, or Tyler or whatever, as a last name. Or Anderson, the son of Anders, or the son of Andrew, or whatever, Anders' son, or from a place that you were born, Paul of Tarsus, or whatever. What do you think Jason Rapert's dad did, I wonder, to get the last name Rapert? Anyway, yeah, Baker's a good one. Yeah, there's Baker too. Yeah, so Rapert created the National Association for Christian Lawmakers. He was previously a congressman in Alabama, maybe? I don't remember. Just get an idea of who Jason Rapert is that's writing this legislation to put chaplains in schools. He also writes legislation for 10 Commandments bills and stuff.
I've talked with parents. Their kids, some of them adult children, have been ensnared with this LGBTQ cult, and they've cut them off. You are in a cult, and in the name of Jesus Christ, I stand against this devil of hell, this LGBTQ cult in our country.
I appreciate that he's picked up the cue. That's nice, right? It's nice that he's recognizing the queer community also, or the questioning community. That's really good. This dude's a joke.
LGBTQ cult in our country. I command you in the name of Jesus to be thrown down.
Wow, he commanded in the name of Jesus. So that means there aren't any more gay people, right? Oh, there are. I guess his prayer or command didn't work. Does he have to command harder? Who's he commanding exactly? Is he commanding God to throw down the LGBTQ cult, quote unquote? This is the guy that's writing these bills. Jason Rapert. Jesus Christ, man. So yeah, they work closely with like governors across the country. Rapert does. There's like, maybe I should start saying Grapert or something to avoid monetization problems. It's dude's last name. I don't know what to say.
If you look at the Department of Defense list of approved chaplains for the DoD, there's not any Satanists. They're not there. They're not, according to the Supreme Court, they are not an organized religion. So
false. They are an organized religion. As a matter of fact, atheism, again, is considered a religion for legal purposes. Just to fit within the legal framework, atheists have all the same rights as Christians or Muslims or anybody else. An atheist can sue to do something on religious grounds for religious beliefs because they're considered a religion. Everything is considered a religion under the law like that. So I don't know what she's talking about. Like, where's she even pulling this from? Where'd she get this information? She's just making this up? Did somebody tell her this? Like, is she dumb as dog or is she intentionally lying? I have no idea which one it is. Tell me in the comments, which one is it? She did mention chaplains in the military. That is a very unique situation where chaplains are allowed to be and should be in the military and in hospitals. And there's another place that they're commonly placed. And the reason that chaplains are in the military is because they're in a place where they can't go to church every day if they want. They cannot observe their religious beliefs or meet religious expectations because they're in the field. So chaplains will travel with them, from base to base, and they'll talk to the chaplain and confess their sins or whatever. They'll get their last rites and chaplains even work with Muslims to do like Muslim-related things too. And about no Satanist chaplains in the military, well, there could be if they wanted. If somebody wanted a Satanist chaplain, they could have it. It's not about gatekeeping, like, no, only Christian chaplains are allowed. That's not how it works. Anyway, the point is that chaplains should be in the military because people have to move from place to place. Schools are not like that. Kids can go to church after school if they want. These people want to impose indoctrination on children across the country. Everybody. Every single kid. Oh, one other thing. It's optional if you want to go to a chaplain in the military. You're not forced to. Or in jails. That's the other place. Jails, hospitals, and the military. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. This scenario that they're drawing up, it's imposed upon the children with or without parental consent. They're imposing it on people. Parental consent not required in 83% of these cases. Parental consent is required in 17%. Yeah, all right, let's keep listening.
not there. They're not, according to the Supreme Court, they are not an organized religion. So
it's just a lie, seemingly.
It's a lot of fear mongering among the narrative.
There are crazy people. We had the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster and a minister from the Church of Satan actually showed up and told all my school board members that, in fact, that they were going to apply to be a chaplain and all this kind of stuff. But I think there's actually, what I was told is that there actually are appeals court at the federal level precedents out there that basically make it clear that the Church of Satan is not a legitimate religious faith and is not entitled to protection.
Again, that's false. That's simply false. They are a registered religion, not just like the Satanic Temple, not just the Church of Satan, but other Satanist groups. They're non-theistic, which means they don't believe in God, but they have tenets. They meet on a weekly basis. They have I think it's called the sniff test. They have all the hallmarks of a religion. They do all the things a religion does. They hold beliefs on all the same subjects, even though they're completely different beliefs from Christians. They have, positions on this stuff. They are a religion. Legally, according to the law, they are. I don't know where they're getting this. Are they just trying to, quell fears right now? Is that the whole point? The Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster is a satirical church that exists because of people like this. You're not allowed to wear a hat when you get your driver's license picture taken, right? You have to have just no earrings, no nothing, just your picture. Unless you're religious. If you are like a bishop and you have a Catholic bishop hat, kind of like the Pope hat, I don't even know. Do they wear those? And you want to have that taken, and you want to wear that during your driver's license picture? There's a religious exemption for it. You're legally allowed to do that. In some cases, like turbans, I think you can wear turbans in pictures and stuff. Because it's a religious belief, it's a religious thing, religious requirement, the state will make an exception for it. So the Flying Spaghetti Monster Church decided to start wearing colanders to their driver's license thing. And the point is, it's a stupid law. Everybody should be expected to live up to the exact same things. Churches are not exempt from operating in society like everybody else. I don't care what you believe as a Christian. You are not allowed to take a 12-year-old kid up to a mountaintop and strap them to a table and, sacrifice them to Yahweh. You're not allowed to do that. We have laws about murder, and that you're not exempt from it. There are lines that people cannot cross, and in my opinion, that's one of them. You shouldn't be allowed to have religious exemptions for this stuff. Muslims can't wear a niqab or a burqa or whatever when they get their driver's license taken. Neither should Christians shouldn't be allowed to wear stuff either. Everyone should just get their picture taken. It's the same with schools. That's why the Flying Spaghetti Monster Church exists, to push back against this kind of nonsense.
Out there that basically make it clear that the Church of Satan is not a legitimate religious faith and is not entitled to protection as Christianity would be.
So I guess that says nothing about Jains or Sikhs, right? Because Sikh and Jain are definitely religions. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Anyway, he's just completely full of it anyway. Like I said, they are a religion. Once again, are these people dumb as dogs, or are they intentionally lying and deceiving people? Tell me what you think in the comments.